What's up, everyone? We are back with picks on every single NBA game for Thursday, March 7th. We're running it back with some NBA, but don't worry, NCAA basketball picks are coming back very soon. We have a crazy March ahead of us. This video is brought to you by StumpTheSpread.com, where you can get all of our best picks and predictions on every major sport. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the NBA and NCAA basketball videos we post every single day. And hit that thumbs up button, it helps my videos out a ton. Welcome to the new subscribers and the new viewers. Don't forget to comment below with any questions or bets on today's slate. I read and respond to every single comment. Now let's dive into our first game of the day, the Nets at the Pistons. Brooklyn's been a tough team to figure out lately. They've won 3 of their last 4, but that loss came against the Memphis Grizzlies. They won over the 76ers, so that was a pretty solid win. Cam Thomas is still out. Ben Simmons is still out. We do not care about Ben Simmons, obviously. Cam Thomas being out is a big deal, though. His ankle injury is going to keep him out for this game on Thursday against the Pistons. He hasn't played since the 26th, so it's been some time that he's been out now, but we do expect him to come back at some point this season. The Nets could definitely use his scoring. In the 5-point win over the 76ers, we saw Schroeder and Dorian Finney-Smith really carry the load. Lonnie Walker IV was big off the bench. In general, the Nets played really well. They shot 40% from 3, which was solid for them. They got to the free throw line. They won the rebounding battle. Up and down the roster, they played well, but this was a 76ers squad without Tyrese Maxey. They're really banged up right now. There's not a lot of positives to find for the 76ers, so this isn't exactly a win that impresses me. However, you have to give the Nets some credit for actually trying to win games at this point in the season when they're really supposed to be kind of tanking things out. This team doesn't have a whole lot of good places to go. It'll be very interesting to see what they try and do in the offseason, see what they try to do through the draft. If they own very many of their own draft picks, I think that most of them are gone already, though. They have Nick Claxton, so they have some solid pieces, some solid young players, but they have a ways to go. Mikal Bridges has not looked good here this season, especially compared to last. He had some moments early on, but lately has kind of faded. I don't know what the deal is with him right now, but when we go to look at the Pistons, we see they have not been having a very good time lately. They've lost 3 in a row, losing to Cleveland, then going on the road and getting blown out by Orlando, then going on the road and losing to Miami. Now they're back home, they're playing against the Brooklyn Nets. The Pistons have obviously had one of the worst seasons in the league this year. There's some reason for hope. They've had a couple little surges here and there right after the trade deadline or right around the trade deadline. They played a lot better. Cade Cunningham has been putting up great numbers, but he's really their only solid option right now. In the 10-point loss at Miami, their last time out, we saw Cade lead the way with 23 points, but the rest of the starting roster didn't look so good. The Pistons shot only 28% from 3, and they put up 42 attempts, which is pretty crazy. They did go 20 of 22 from the free throw line, so I guess that's something, but they didn't have any answers for Jimmy Butler. They didn't really have any answers for Bam or the Heat just up and down the roster. Caleb Martin had a big game. There's not a lot of positives to find for the Pistons right now. They're only getting 2.5 points in this game, so I think we're going to lean towards the Brooklyn Nets, although we're not going to be betting this game ourselves. Brooklyn is only 10-17 against the spread on the road. That's not a great number, and they're not playing great right now, and they don't have their best offensive player, so my small lean is Brooklyn to get the win and cover, but we're not going to be betting this game. Next up, we've got a very interesting game. We see the Minnesota Timberwolves headed to Indiana to take on the Pacers. We're seeing that Karl Anthony Towns is going to be sitting this game out. That's pretty concerning for the Timberwolves. They need their big man in there, or their primary scoring big man in there. That's going to put a lot of pressure on Anthony Edwards, so if you're looking at player props, we could definitely see some Anthony Edwards overs hit in this game. Recently, the Timberwolves have been playing kind of mediocre. They did just beat the Portland Trailblazers the last time out, but it was only a 5-point win. That's pretty bad. Anthony Edwards just missed the tip-off for the Timberwolves, saying he lost track of time. Like, what is going on here? Like, what is going on in Minnesota? They seem very not locked in here at a very important point of the season. They need to be working their butts off to try and hold on to that top spot or try to get that top spot in the West. That could be pretty big, although you could end up with some weird matchups given that you see the Warriors, the Lakers, the Mavs, and the Kings all sitting in play-in tournament position. So I guess you could get a weird matchup even if you do end up with the top seed in the West, but you have to think they want to hold on to that at least a little bit. Everybody from Minnesota is healthy in this one except for Cat, so I guess we expect to see a full roster, but this could be a tough game for them as they're about to take on the Indiana Pacers. In the first game of this season series, which was back in December, we saw the Timberwolves come out with an easy win, but recently we've seen the Pacers playing a little bit uneven as well, kind of in a similar boat to the Timberwolves. The Pacers did win their last time out, a kind of blowout win at Dallas, which is pretty impressive, but before that they lost to the San Antonio Spurs. That's an embarrassing loss, and before that they lost to the Pelicans. Indiana is kind of a streaky team. We saw Halliburton have kind of a bounce back performance. He's been very uneven here in the second half of the season. They played good defense against everybody on the Mavs except Luka and Kyrie, but that's kind of what everyone does at this point. We saw the Pacers shoot the lights lights out on the road, which is a little bit encouraging for them. Indiana is 17-13-2 against the spread at home. This is basically a pick'em game. Right now, I'm leaning towards Indiana. I think they have some solid matchups in this game. How locked in can we really think that Anthony Edwards is if he's missing tip-offs? Siakam should be able to get pretty much anything he wants in this matchup. I don't think we see Miles Turner really struggle too much against Gobert, as Miles Turner is more than happy to step out to the three-point line, and we all know from multitudes of experience that Rudy Gobert cannot guard perimeter players or guard on the three-point line at all. Maybe Indiana could struggle on the boards against Gobert. This could be a big rebounding night for him, but other than that, I really see Indiana in a good spot in this one. They're 17-13-2 against the spread at home. I think we see Indiana, maybe this is the beginning of a little bit of a run, get the win and cover at home in this one. Next up, we've got Miami at Dallas. The Miami Heat come into this one fresh off of 2 straight wins. They've won 7 of their last 8 overall. Tyler Hero and Kevin Love are still out. Hero isn't even traveling with the team for the next 2 games, so we know he'll be out in this one and against the Thunder on Friday. This is the first half of a back-to-back for the Miami Heat, so that's a little bit concerning for them. They could find themselves in a little bit of a look-ahead spot, which is kind of common in the first half of a back-to-back, but they've been playing pretty well lately. They didn't exactly blow out the Pistons, but they got the comfortable win. They've been playing much better since the All-Star break. Their only loss since the All-Star break has been at Denver, and it was only a 6-point game where they couldn't throw it in the ocean down the stretch. If they had made any of their shots, they could have actually stolen that game from the Nuggets. Jimmy Butler is back at full strength and is playing really well. Bam is an absolute monster out there, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Mavericks try and match up in this game. Dallas has actually dropped 3 in a row, losing at the Celtics, and then at home to the Philadelphia 76ers. That's definitely a bad loss. And then at home against the Indiana Pacers. That's not a terrible loss. We see Luka is currently listed as day-to-day as he continues to try and deal with an ankle issue. He's probable for this game, so I think we definitely see him play, and he's been playing well, so I guess it's not a massive concern for us. The Mavs clearly need Luka at full strength. This is a team that went on a little bit of run when they got healthy, but the combination of Luka and Kyrie is still leaving us with a lot of questions to be answered. Right now, we see Miami is getting 4 points right now. I think we're going to take Miami, who's 18-12-1 against the spread on the road, +4 in this one. Dallas is only 14-19 against the spread at home. They haven't been looking that great. This could be like an eruption spot for Kyrie or Luka. You never know with those two, but I think the value definitely lies with Miami and the points. They're playing better here in the second half of the season. This is Miami's time to shine as they gear up for the playoffs. Give me the Heat in this one. Next up, we're looking at the Toronto Raptors heading to Phoenix to take on the Suns. The Raptors come into this game fresh off a blowout loss to the New Orleans Pelicans. Toronto has not been great. They're kind of banged up right now. We see Bruce Brown likely out. We see Jakob Poeltl likely out. Poeltl is actually out indefinitely with his finger issue. It's really time for the Raptors to kind of tank things out. They're obviously not going to be making any sort of playoff push this season. They're 4.5 games back with the 10 seed, and they're really not a good enough team. They're young. They got some talent added to the roster, I guess, at the trade deadline, but they have a ton of questions. Masai Ujiri really has some questions to be answered about how good of a GM he is, because things are just not looking great right now. The Phoenix Suns, on the other hand, come into this game fresh off a monster win at Denver. Kevin Durant went absolutely nuts. They took him into overtime and got the win. KD made a just very, very nice jump shot to really seal the deal. Devin Booker remains out. He's likely to miss 7 to 10 days, so he's going to be out at least the next week. It's really going to be up to Durant and Beal to carry the load on this very top-heavy roster without Booker, who's supposed to be the best player. Him being on the sidelines is clearly a big deal for this team. Phoenix is only 12-20-1 against the spread at home. That's a pretty terrible home record. Right now, we see Toronto getting 10 points in this game. Kind of makes me sick, guys. Feel like the value is on Toronto, especially with the Suns coming off such a big win. I think they probably win this game, but I think it'll be relatively close if Toronto tries at all. So give me Toronto and the points as a small lean in this one. I'm not going to be making this one of my bigger bets of the night, but Toronto is definitely the value play here. Next up, we've got an NBA Finals preview. We've got the Boston Celtics heading to Denver to take on the Nuggets. The Nuggets got a 2-point win in this matchup back on January 19th. Boston comes into this game fresh off of a very tough 1-point loss at Cleveland. Now they've got to go to Denver. This is a kind of a tough little stretch here for the Celtics, because after that they go and play at Phoenix. The Celtics have clearly been the best team in the East this season and arguably the best team in the NBA. Jaylen Brown comes into this game listed as day-to-day. He's officially questionable with a rather complicated left knee contusion. I don't really know if we'll see him play in this one. I would kind of tend to doubt it. You don't really want to be messing around with knee injuries at this point in the season. That's just going to lead to more minutes for maybe Sam Hauser. This team looks deep, but how deep is it it really. We're going to see Jrue Holiday have to up the scoring output, and really everyone have to up the scoring output. Porzingis is going to have his hands full going against Jokic in this game. The Denver Nuggets come into this one fresh off that tough overtime loss against the Phoenix Suns. They're going to be looking to make a statement here against the Celtics. If they could own this season series, that would have to give them a lot of confidence if they end up eventually meeting Boston in the finals. Jokic, Jamal Murray are both playing absolutely out of their minds. Everyone up and down the roster is listed as healthy. They've got a clean injury report. Definitely like Denver at home in this one. The Nuggets are currently plus 1.5. Go ahead and take that 1.5 and give me Denver. They're 14, 15, and 1 against the spread at home, and those numbers have been climbing here in the second half of the season as they've really locked in. And Boston is only 12, 14, and 3 against the spread on the road, plus Jaylen Brown maybe not playing. Definitely give me Denver at home in this one. Next up, we're looking at the Chicago Bulls headed to Golden State to take on the Warriors. The Bulls played a tough one at Utah last night, and now they have to go on the road to take on the Warriors. Chicago comes into this game looking relatively healthy, but man, they have some work to do. They're pretty much locked into that 9 seed in the East, so they're going to be very much in the depths of the play-in tournament. They're going to have to go through some tough teams, it looks like, especially if Philadelphia gets Embiid back. So the Bulls are not exactly having the season they imagined, but if they can limp into the play-in tournament, maybe that's really all this roster was destined for, as it has not panned out the way a lot of people thought it would. A lot of people thought this was going to be a contender. That has not been the case over the last couple of seasons. The Warriors come into this game fresh off a tough game at home against Milwaukee. They're at home again in this one, so they didn't have to travel. That's a good sign for them, except for the Warriors are only 13, 17, and 1 against the spread at home, which has been a concerning trend for them this season. Golden State's been playing better here down the stretch after the All-Star break. They're starting to get healthy. Wiggins is back, so his weird little absence didn't stretch out for like 6 months like the last one felt like it did. Golden State's minus 5.5 in this one. That feels kind of like a lot of points in this game, but if you look at the Warriors going 8, 4, and 1 against the spread on no rest, it kind of makes me think that there's a little bit of value on them. So go ahead and give me the Warriors as a small lean in this one. It's a very small lean though. Chicago is good against the spread on the road, so give me the Warriors, but not a huge lean. Last but not least, we got the San Antonio Spurs heading to Sacramento to take on the Kings. San Antonio comes into this game fresh off of a tough 13-point loss at Houston. We're seeing flashes from Wembanyama, but with a sprained ankle, he's going to be out for this game. That leaves the Spurs in a pretty bad spot. He's definitely their focal point. He's their best player by an insane margin. Nobody else on the roster is really that much above replacement level. It's going to be really exciting when they get some actual players around Wemby, hopefully next season, but right now things are looking really rough for San Antonio when he's not in there. Sacramento comes into this one fresh off of a tough game last night at the Lakers. They lost to the Bulls before that, and before that they played a crazy overtime game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Kings are only 11 and 16 against the spread at home and only 3 and 6 against the spread on no rest, so this isn't going to be a very big lean. This is mostly based on Wembanyama being out, and we need to see a clean bill of health from the Kings. But if you're absolutely forcing me to bet this game, give me Sacramento minus 8.5 at home, but this isn't a game we're going to be on in a meaningful way. That's all of our NBA games for today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment below with any questions or comments about these picks or today's slate, and check out stumpthespread.com to see all of our top plays. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you're enjoying these videos, and we will see you guys tomorrow for more NBA and college basketball action.